Hi guys, so it's 9 o'clock, a bit of a later one this evening, but I thought I'd try and catch some of you guys that are either kind of finishing work a bit later, or those of you across the pond that are just finishing work. So just will hang about for a couple of minutes until a few people have joined us. So today's Tuesday's training is going to be about delegation. And this is something that kind of everybody knows about, but people don't generally do properly or do well. So I thought it would be a good one to kind of cover. And as it was the favourite picked in the poll that was put in the group the other day, I thought, well, that's a good one to cover. So that's what we're going to do. So if you're joining us, drop us a comment in here, let me know you're there. Just trying to get that bright light out of the way there, that's a bit better. Give us a smiley face or a like or whatever across so I know you're with me, and we'll get started in a minute. So I was going to do a few invites, but my invites isn't working, so it's not actually letting me invite people along at the minute, so I can't do that. So I'm just going to have to hope that you guys remember to pop along and join us tonight. So the replay will be in the group, so if you're not with us and you're catching the replay, still remember to drop any comments here or any questions, because it will notify me so I can always come back and pick it up later. You have to excuse me, I'm all wet-haired this evening. Okay, sorry, hang on. Yeah, it's all right. My sister's sending me messages. So, delegation. Let's get started. So, the meaning of delegation. Well, delegation basically means to share tasks. It means to give work that is predominantly yours to other people. Now, this can be done really well, and it can be done really badly. So, the best way to kind of make sure you're delegating correctly, first of all, is to understand why you need to delegate in the first place. So if you're delegating because you hate a task, you're delegating because you're stressed and overworked and things like that, they're not the best reasons for delegating, because what will happen is you'll delegate, in the wrong way. You'll delegate the wrong stuff. You won't put the right amount of effort into the task, because delegating isn't just about going, right, here's some work and I want you to do it. There's a huge amount that goes into it. You need to be able to do a whole list of things to make sure that you're delegating correctly. So you shouldn't delegate because you're overworked. You shouldn't delegate because you hate a task. So the main reasons why people don't delegate are fear. People are frightened of delegating their work because they don't want someone to be seen as being better than them. They're frightened of delegating work to other people in case those people get the glory or they get the praise for it and they miss out on that. People don't delegate because they kind of assume they're the only person that can do it. This kind of hanging on to it, this sort of I'm the only person that can do this task, therefore I couldn't possibly give it to you to do because you wouldn't do it right. This kind of I'm the only person that can do it my way, and my way is the only way of doing it. This kind of fear of change. They're the main reasons why people don't delegate and why people hang on to tasks, things that they could share and they don't. Now, the main reasons why you should delegate are because the people that you're delegating to will learn more. There is the opportunity for them to develop themselves. It gives you an opportunity as a manager usually as well to be able to kind of see how good your staff are at certain things and be able to kind of say, right, well, actually, do you know what? These people are really great at this, or these people are really they're really fantastic with other people. They're really good at sharing ideas. They ran that meeting really well. They actually did that report really well. All of those kind of things. And if you don't delegate these tasks to them, so I've got really dry eyes. If you don't delegate tasks to them, well then you're never going to know that. You're never going to be able to see that in them. So your staff aren't going to develop, and you're not going to get the best from them. So a huge reason for delegating is training. It's sharing expertise. You can be the expert of a subject if you delegate, and this is something that people, it's a myth. They think that if they're the only ones that can do that job, then it proves that they are needed in work. It proves that they are, that they have a need, that the company you can't cope without them because they're the only person that can do this report, or they're the only person that can do this task. And that's not true, because actually if you share experience, if you share your expertise, you look better to a company, because they don't want you to be the only person that can do that job. You don't make yourself obsolete by sharing what you can do, and you don't make yourself kind of this unique employee by hanging on to it. Everybody is dispensable. Everybody can be replaced. And if you're the only person that can do that report and you leave, well, then they'll just find a different way of doing the report. So for me, and with the learning that I've done and the experience that I've had as a manager, not delegating does you no good at all. So you need to be able to share your expertise with your staff. You need to be able to delegate to people so that they can grow. They might grow above you and they might grow away from you, and that's fine. You know, that's good, because you want your staff to grow and progress and move forward. You don't want them being stuck and staying where they are for the rest of their lives. So actually, by sharing some stuff and helping them to progress and move forward, you did a good thing. You know, they're going to be more engaged, they're going to be happier in their job, they're going to be more likely to stay. I know that when I shared my tasks with people on my team, sorry, I've got loads of messages coming through on my phone now as well. I've had my sister, my sister-in-law and my mum, so everybody's trying to talk to me tonight. So basically, when I've shared my tasks and jobs that I've had with people on my team, they've developed into management themselves, they've been able to grow as people. As long as you're delegating for the right reasons. If you're just sharing the shit, that's not fair, and that's not delegating, and people aren't going to grow and develop from that. So if you're delegating for the right reasons, then there's a knock-on effect to all the good. So if you delegate crap because you don't want to do it, well, no one learns from that. People can then see that you're just delegating crap, and then they kind of resent that, and then they're not going to be engaged, and they don't really want to work with you. So you have the opposite effect of good delegation. If you're delegating tasks that people can develop from, learn from, and you're an expert and you're sharing your expertise, well, then people grow and they progress and they do well, and then they're engaged, and then they like working for you, so they're more likely to stay. They're more likely to bring along their own expertise and grow with the company. So you can start to see it's a much more positive kind of reaction. So, when should you delegate? Right, well, you don't delegate to somebody on their first day of work. So somebody brand new into the building, and you don't go, right, here's your first day, there's the toilets, there's the canteen, oh, and there's some of my job to do. That's not right. So when should you delegate? Well, you delegate when you're comfortable with people, and there will be levels of delegation. So there will be things that people are already quite good at, and you can delegate certain tasks to them because they might just need to adapt it slightly to the company's way or your way, or, you know, variants of that, but it's already something that they are okay at doing. It may be that actually they've been at the company a really, really long time, and you're delegating to them because they are obviously bored in their job and they need to be entertained and they need something more interesting to do. It might be that actually you're a new boss to a team, and you've joined this team, and actually everybody on there is pulling their hair out because the previous manager kind of held on to all these tasks. So you'll be delegating to people that you don't necessarily know very well, and you don't necessarily kind of yet trust to delegate fully to, but you know you need to delegate to them because there's a requirement, there's this hunger for it on the team. So you have to start looking at who you have on your team, what tasks you have, and a fit for purpose. So the how to delegate, if you like, is, first of all, you need to create lists. And I know most of my Tuesdays training kind of have variations of lists required, but I am a bit of a list person. Excuse me, it's really loud. I need my tea. So you need to create a list, and you want a list of all of your employees, all of your team, all of the people that you can delegate to. And along that list, you prioritise them, or you gauge them, if you like, as to how much work they already have ongoing. So are they somebody that has the time to take on new tasks? Where they are currently with their training. So are they somebody who's on the management sort of ladder? Are they taking on management tasks because they need to, as part of a qualification they might be doing, or some progression that they're doing, that kind of thing. You also need to list along the lines of how they cope with new things. So if there's somebody that can take on a new task really quickly, are they somebody that needs a lot more time to do things? Are they somebody that needs a lot longer to kind of absorb information? And the reason you need to do this is because when you start to allocate the tasks that you're going to delegate to these people, you need to make sure you're giving the right people the right things. So if you've got somebody on your team who you want to delegate to and they want more responsibility, but they've had, no management training and they're really new to the company, you're going to need to be careful what you give them. If you've got somebody who has been with the company a long time and they know what they're doing, but they have a really big workload already, well, then you're not going to give them a really big task, are you? You've got to delegate maybe some smaller things to them. If you've got somebody who's actually been doing really well, really manages their tasks fantastic, and they've got the capacity to take on a big project, well, then you delegate the project to them. You don't give it to somebody who's already overworked. And this is really important, because what a lot of managers don't do is they don't do this first list. They miss this first point, and what they do is they just do the second part, which is the allocation of work. And they give the wrong tasks to the wrong people, and then they wonder when it all goes wrong. So you need to create the two lists. The first list must be about your team or your employees. Where are they at the moment? What can they physically handle? What can they take on? And then your second list should be, what tasks can you allocate? And this is where you kind of go through your workload and you go, right, okay, so on a Monday I do a team meeting. Could I let Sarah run that team meeting for me for the next couple of weeks, because it means I haven't got to prepare for it. It means I don't have to spend the first half hour kind of running the meeting. I don't need to do the Q&As afterwards and the minutes and all that kind of stuff. So it'll free up maybe an hour of your day on a Monday, which will give you an hour to spend with your new employee. But actually Sarah wants to be a manager, she wants to be a supervisor, she wants to, she's really good with the team, and, she's quite outgoing and things like that, and it's something that she keeps saying she'd like to do. So you could allocate her that task. It could be maybe some report writing stuff, where it's preparing the figures for a meeting that you might be going to. It could be attending those meetings for you. Could you send somebody along to a meeting in your place? Could they just, deliver the figures for this week and take back any messages and things like that? Every company is going to be different. Some companies are going to be like, no, you can only have the person that's invited to the meeting attend. It can only be managers in that meeting or whatever. Other companies are going to be like, I don't really care who comes, as long as there's somebody representing the department. So, and it also depends on the autonomy that you have. Are you able to just make these decisions, or do you have to run them past other people? Do you have a training department who is in charge of the progression of staff? So you giving them extra bits is going to mess up what the training team are doing. So it really does depend on the company that you work for, and it really does depend on the autonomy that you have and the amount of staff that you have. But like I say, first of all, you need to decide on who you can allocate to, and then you need to go through your tasks as to what you're going to allocate. And then it's just literally drawing arrows. It's going, right, okay, well, I've got this task and I've got this person that fits, right, they can do that. This one, they can do that. This one, they can. And you just literally allocate a handful of tasks to a handful of people. This frees up a lot of your time, because there will be a huge amount of stuff that you're doing that you don't need to do. Now, most people would have heard of the D's when it comes to managing. They say do it, dump it, delegate it. Now, I don't agree with that order. I don't think you should do it, dump it, or delegate it. I think the delegation part should come way further up that list. Delegation, if you're a good manager, delegation should be one of the first things you can do. So when you're creating your task list for the week, you should be looking at what you can delegate first and delegate it. So it should be delegate, do it, dump it in my eyes. So you delegate it out, you do what you can't delegate, and you dump what don't need to be done. So for me, that's how those D's should run, not the other way around. So how to delegate well? So there's some ways of doing it that are really bad, and we've all worked for somebody that's done it this way. So if you're working for somebody and they go, do me a favour, can you do me, I need you to go to this meeting for me. It's in 5 minutes. It's with all the senior managers. They won't ask you anything. I just need you to go along. Just take along this week's figures. Give them the figures if they ask for them. They probably won't, and that should be it. And you think, yeah, okay. So you go along to the meeting and you're sitting there, and all of a sudden the senior manager says, and can we have your presentation? And you're like, yeah, well, no, we need you to give us all the figures for the week. And they start firing questions at you and all of this kind of stuff. And you're like, holy crap, I was not prepared for this. And you come back and you're peed off with your manager because they've dropped you right in it, and you're now feeling stupid because you made yourself look like a right fool in front of all the senior managers. It's buggered up your chances of progression in your mind because they think you're a bumbling idiot now. That's bad delegation. That's not your fault. That's the manager's fault for the way they've sent you into that meeting. So there's a couple of things you need to remember when you come to delegating a task, and this is every single task, whether it's a big task, a small task, a medium-sized task. It's important, it's not important, it's urgent, it doesn't matter. When you come to delegate a task, you need to make sure that you are defining even that task. So when you come to delegate it to the person, you need to make sure that they know exactly what it is you're asking them to do. So you need to explain it fully, and they need to know how much autonomy they have. What can they change? What are they allowed to do? What are they not allowed to do? So is it a case of, here's a report, you cannot change the style of the report, just fill in the blanks and save it at the end? Is it here's a report, I don't care how it looks, just, as long as it looks pretty, get it done? They need to know what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. They need to know why they're doing it. So you have to tell them the reasons, and because I can't be bothered to do it, it's not a reason to delegate a job to somebody. So they need to know this report is done because the senior managers use it on a Monday evening for their meeting, and when they have that meeting they need to have the exact results because they discuss the following week's recruitment because of it, whatever it might be. So they need to know the reasons why they're doing it. They need to know who's going to see it. Is this just a task you're giving them and the only person that sees it is you? Because fine, then that's a much more simple conversation. But if that person knows that actually it goes all the way up to the CEO, well, then they need to know that, because they need to know who's going to be sort of seeing their work, who's going to be seeing what they're doing. You need to give them a deadline. And it doesn't matter if there isn't a deadline. You need to give them a deadline. You need to say to them, I'm going to delegate this to you. This is the reason why I'm delegating it to you. This is what you're allowed to change. This is what you're not allowed to change. And I would like it done by this time. And that's because whenever you give somebody a task, you need to give them a deadline, because it gives them the idea of the urgency and the importance. If you just say, can you do this for me at some point? Guess what? It's never going to get done. It will constantly get pushed down the ladder of importance. And every time there's a phone call, and every time there's can you quickly do this for me? Can you quickly answer this question? It will be bumped down the priority list. If they know that actually this report's been done and I need it for 2 o'clock, and the senior managers are all going to be seeing it, and the CEO sees it, and it's, all of this kind of stuff, well, then they're going to prioritise it. They're going to get it done properly, they're going to get it done right, and they're going to get it done early, because they know that you need it for a specific time, and they know why you need it for a specific time. And the other thing you need to do as well is make sure that there are results. There is they can see the point of it. They can see that the results from it. You need to also make sure that you are you're giving them feedback on it. So when they've done it, when they've completed it, you need to make sure you're telling them, you did a good job there. That was exactly what I needed. It was good and it was done on time. However, next time I need a little bit more information in this, or, you know, you missed this out, whatever it might be. But you need to give feedback. And, you know, if you're not sure about feedback, then look back earlier in the group. There's loads of lives about feedback. We did a whole challenge on it a few months ago, and there's some workbooks and stuff on it. If you need to, give me a shout. But generally they need feedback on it. They need support. You need to be able to support them. You can't say to somebody, right, here's one of my tasks, I'm going to delegate it to you, see you later. This is why that first list is so important, because if it is somebody who is new to what they're doing and you're not giving them the support, the task isn't going to get done properly. It's just not going to happen. So they need to have the support. So there are a couple of things that you need to do in the how to. So it's not easy to delegate to people. It's not something that you can just go, right, here's a task, get on with it. There's a whole host of things you need to be thinking about. So just to recap those, you need to think about who you're delegating to. You need to think what you're delegating, and if it's the right task, is it the right thing to be giving them? Can they do it? Is it within their capabilities? Are you stretching them a little bit, because that's part of the program? Hang on, I'm just gonna, no, Mark, I probably wouldn't have said that, really. No, I don't think that's going to be very helpful. Certainly not going to help their progression. So you need to make sure you're delegating the right thing to the right person. You need to make sure that it's within their capabilities. It needs to make sure that there is something that they can handle, something they have the time and the space to do. There's no point delegating stuff to people and making them overwhelmed and, you know, kind of overworked as well. You need to make sure that you are delegating for the right reasons. When you delegate it to them, you need to make sure that you're defining the task. They know what they're doing. They need to know that it's the reasons why it's been delegated to them. They need to know the accountability, the autonomy that they have, what they're allowed to change, what they're not allowed to change. They need to have support. You need to be able to give them guidance when they need it, and you need to give them feedback on it. So it's a huge amount to remember. So I will put a post up actually with just some clarifications of this in the group probably tomorrow as well. So there are two things that you need to think about as well. So when you're talking about tasks, so you have efficiency and effectiveness. So efficiency and effectiveness are generally thought of as being the same thing, and they're not. They are very different when it comes to tasks and delegation. So efficiency is doing the job right. So it's making sure that either you do the job or the person doing the job is doing it right, so it gets done correctly. Whereas effectiveness is about doing the right job. So this is about, you know, what tasks do you actually need to do? So this is where we come back to, do you remember we talked about that second list where you write down the tasks that you're doing, you write down the jobs that you have to delegate, and we will talk about the do it and the dump it. So what do you actually need to do? You know, are you doing the right tasks? Because it's very easy to kind of go, right, okay, I'm going to do all these things because I like doing this, and I'm going to do that because I've always done it, and I'm going to do that because I'm best at it, and and your work pile just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and you need to start looking at why you're going to do these tasks. So is it you're doing it because you choose to do it, you like doing it and you want to do it, or are you doing it because you are actually the right person to do it? Because when it comes to tasks and it comes to effectiveness, you want the right people doing the right job. And then the efficiency comes in, which means that the job gets done right. So when you look to delegate tasks, you go through all your big list of work that you're doing. You pick out all the things that you have to do because you have to do them. And then you look at what's left and you go, right, okay, these are the tasks that I don't have to do. And these are the ones that I actually don't mind delegating out. These are the ones that maybe have less importance or less urgency and can be shared, and they're the ones you delegate, and then you start matching those with the people that you need to match them to and the people that can take it on. So delegation is a big one, and I've tried to kind of condense it in about 20 minutes, and you know it's much harder really to cover it in such a small space of time. And it's a shame that a few more of you haven't really joined us, because if you'd given us some examples of the type of things that you're looking to delegate, or the things that you're frightened of delegating, then we could have maybe explained it a little bit better. But it's very difficult to just pick random subjects. So if you are catching the replay, brilliant. Do me a favour, drop me a comment here with the type of tasks that you are supposed to delegate, that you find difficult delegating, or if you find everything difficult to delegate, you just don't know what to delegate, and we can have a chat. You know, we can either jump on a quick call and have a conversation around it, or drop me a comment here and I can do a reply in the group, and then other people can see it too, and hopefully they can learn from it as well. But delegation is something that must happen. As a manager, you must delegate work out so that your staff learn, so that they develop, so that they can move forward, and so that you don't become overwhelmed and overworked, because a lot of tasks that you take on as a manager are things you don't need to do. They are things that you can share with your team, as long as you're delegating for the right reasons, to the right people, in the right way. And hopefully I've been able to cover those things in tonight's live. So I won't recap it all over again. Hopefully I've covered it a couple of times now. That'll be enough for you to kind of gauge. But if you do have any questions, if you're not sure, and if you do want to kind of jump on and have a quick conversation with me, then do so. Let me know. Drop me a comment. But hopefully we've covered delegation quite well for you this evening, and you've got some ideas now that you can take away, and hopefully you can start delegating to your teams, to your staff, and you've got an idea on how to do it properly. So that'd be brilliant. Anyway, have a lovely evening. I know it's a late one, and I hope a few of you can catch the replay, and I will speak to you soon. Take care. Bye.